Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's class. So today we're going to be going over leg picks. They're an aspect of Tewaza, but they're also kind of their own thing. So in all of them, we grab Uke's legs, and that means none of these throws are allowed in tournament. So if they're not allowed in tournament, why do we work on them? Well, we work on them because first off, they're in every test after green, and they have some enormous self-defense potential, on top of the fact that they're an important part of the history of judo. So, in the past, they were really popular. They got phased out. Some people agree with that decision and some people do not, but it's the reality. And they illustrate important elements of Kazushi. So they'll show you an angle that other throws don't really take with their Kazushi. So, the main principle of all of the leg picks, apart from grabbing Uke's legs, is that Uke needs to be back on his heels. If I go in for any of these throws, and he's flat-footed, that's the main defense to them. So, we'll go through a few examples, the first being the first one that you're going to run into, Sukui Nagi. For Sukui Nagi, I'm going to bring one hand across, the other hand behind. I'm going to make a shelf out of my leg, lean back. I'm going to grab his legs, lean back, and I fall with Uke. That's why we like to use the crash mat, because it's so much gentler. And that comes with a variation that you run into.
Just before you go there, remember it's not just lift the legs, you're moving your whole torso.
Right, that's what I missed. That torso initiates your Kazushi, and it ends your throw.
Obi-Otoshi?
Where do you run into Obi-Otoshi? Brown belt? I think.
Well, it's on the old list for Shodan. I don't know where it's going to be on the new list. I would have to look that up.
So for Obi-Otoshi, I'm going to grab his belt here. Then I'm going to come across him, put my leg back out in another shelf. This is a variation of Sukui Nagi. This hand here comes behind his leg, and I lean back. And I execute the throw exactly the same way as Sukui Nagi. Now the next one, Morote Geri, the double reap. I know all the wrestlers watching this, I know it's not how you would use it competitively, but this is a traditional judo Morote Geri. So, I'm going to put one foot in, bend down to get power in my legs. I'm going to put my shoulder in his torso. My hands come behind his knees, and as I push with my legs, I'm going to lift with my hands. I know it's not what a wrestling or a jiu-jitsu double leg looks like, but this is the traditional version that we're going to want to see on a test.
So what's different with the wrestling or jiu-jitsu one?
Wrestling or jiu-jitsu, you do a shot. I'm going to embarrass myself by trying one, where I come in to get lower. The point of the judo one seems to just be power. The point of the wrestling and jiu-jitsu one is actually getting in. So, I know there's differences, but this is how you do it for your judo test.
Key thing for Morote Geri, like Sukui Nagi, you're not just lifting the legs. You're lifting the legs as you push. So Siroko Zenyu, you get him up on his heels, and then you lift legs as you push. And it makes it a really easy throw to execute, even if Ethan's bigger than me.
And that's the importance when I get that foot in of bending my knees like a lunge. That's what's going to give you the force to push forwards instead of just pull your hands back.
And of getting me back on my heels. If my feet are flat, pulling them forward is going to be hard.
Yeah.
If I'm up on my heels, it's not tough.
You can
at all.
fall over all on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that'll take us.
The Kuchiki Teyoshi.
I really like this one. It's fun to do.
The one hand drop.
So this one's an ankle pick, and it's going to look a little different because the way I'm going to get him on his heels this time isn't by running into him. I'm going to take this hand, I'm going to pull it out to a 45, a lot like Osotogiri.
Are you doing Kibisu Gaeshi?
I am doing Kibisu Gaeshi. Good job. This is not Kuchiki Tayoshi. I confuse those names all the time.
Let me do it.
I can do it.
Okay.
What's this one called? Okay, Kuchiki Tayoshi.
One hand drop.
One hand drop. This one is my favorite. I promise. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to use a Kouchigari to lift his leg, and that's going to put him back on his heels. I'm also going to push with this hand. Then I'm just going to sweep him with an Ouchigari, and it's a really
Powerful throw.
powerful throw, yeah.
Awesome.
So, key elements to remember. The Kouchigari doesn't have to throw him. So if he's a little stable, that's okay, because all I need is to get this up here. That'll get my hips in. Then I do the Ouchigari. That finishes the technique.
You see it sometimes, going back to the self-defense thing, I've seen it in MMA as a defense against a roundhouse kick. Once he catches that leg, I'm in a bad place.
Number 375, that it's bad if somebody catches your leg in a fight. Okay, now Kibisu Gaeshi.
Which in English is? Heel trip.
Heel trip, that is heel trip, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the ankle pick.
Do we want to turn this even more sideways?
We might. So for this one, it's got Kazushi that is kind of different from all of the other throws within the leg pick group. For this one, I'm going to be taking Uke's sleeve off to a 45, kind of like I would do on an Osoto Gary. But, because it's a leg pick, you know I'm going to be grabbing his foot at some point. So, I'm here, I'm out, and I'm going to drop as I pull this. As I drop, I grab his heel, and then I'm going to pull both my hands and stand up like I'm rowing a canoe. So I'm here, and it's just back, grab the heel, and lift. Very important, stand up, adds a lot. I remember when I first learned this throw, I spent the entire night barely being able to execute it, and Sensei Steve walks by and he's like, stand up, don't just pull your hands, and suddenly it worked really, really well. So
Show them what it looks like if you don't stand up.
So that's if I don't stand up. It lacks all of that oomph that it had before. Whereas when I stand up,
It's got oomph.
it's got oomph. It actually needs blue instead of,
Well, it doesn't really
Just
need
having
it, but it's
it.
a lot nicer.
yeah. So, yeah, those are all of the leg picks in judo. If I missed one, put it in the comments, and we'll be sure to get around to giving it some attention in the future. As we said before, these are primarily testing throws and self-defense throws, but they do illustrate some important elements of Kazushi. Mainly, none of these throws work very well if I don't have him leaning back. Even when I wasn't standing up for that Kibisu Gaeshi, I could still throw him because I was pulling him back. If I had stood up, but I hadn't pulled him back, he would have just hopped around on one foot.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh,
And
this
so
is even
here.
worse.
I got a choke. You guys couldn't see it, but I was snaking my hand in, see if I could get a choke out of that.
So yeah, it's
As
if
with
you
any
can
other
even pick
throw.
up the foot in the first place,
Yeah.
he's not going anywhere.
As with any other throw, if you don't have the Kazushi, it's going to be weak, and if you do, it's going to be effortless for you and a very powerful throw for Uke. Siroko Zenyu, maximum efficiency, minimum force.
So yeah, that's leg picks and
Sakui Nagi, Obi Otoshi, Morote Gari, Kuchiki Teyoshi, and Kibisu Gaeshi.
And make sure you look up your terminology so you don't do what I did and confuse Kuchiki Teyoshi and Kibisu Gaeshi.
Thank you for watching, and as always, you got any questions, you got any comments, you got any ideas about how we could improve, want to hear it. Put them in the comments, email them to me, info@medhatjudo.com, or call or text 403-580-6666. Look forward to hearing from you again. Have a great